Ms. Dhondy, once again, thank you so much for agreeing and gracing this special celebration around millets with us. My first question to you is, what does sustainability mean to you? And especially with reference to the field of work that you do, you're involved with.
Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction, and namaskar to everyone who's watching. I would have loved to be there in person, but I'm joining you from New Delhi, India. And really, really sweet of you to say such nice words about me, and very happy to be here. Sustainability, honestly, is a word that is getting used and abused currently. But it's a very, very simple thing. It's a lifestyle that I think we've followed in India. We're still following, even though we're getting distracted by a lot of, different influences. But it is a lifestyle that our grandparents, our parents, and we need to kind of follow. It's very simple to understand. It's practicing, your life with just the things that you require. Less is more is something that is looked into when you're talking about sustainably living your life. Now, when it comes to the culinary world, I think everyone's very confused on how do we actually achieve sustainability in the kitchen, and what does it mean, and how can we practice it? Because kitchens are extremely fast moving, loud spaces with a lot happening. So if you're just standing in a kitchen, you will see 100 things happening at one point of time. So how do you actually control all of that? And that is something that I learned on the job when I was working at Soda Bottle Openawala, and I saw like cauliflower stems, literally the cauliflower florets being cut and being thrown into the bin. I saw a lot of peels going into the bin. I saw a lot of food waste happening in my kitchen, and that's when I realized that I needed to step up as the head chef and be like, A, why is this happening, and B, how do we solve this? Like, what is the solution here? So I think sustainability in the kitchen especially starts with that one person taking that initiative, and saying that, okay, how do we have a kitchen which can actually provide healthy, nutritious meals? Of course, has to be profitable, has to have taking care of your people, most importantly mental health of your chefs, reducing wastage, getting produce from the correct sources and paying them fairly. I think that's also one very, very important part, especially in the hospitality industry. Pay grades are extremely low, and that's something that I've always tried to fight for. And most importantly, having more women in the kitchen. So there are lots of things that are imbalanced currently in the hospitality sector, especially with regards to the kitchen. And I saw all of these things happening at a very young age, and I said, okay, I need to kind of step up and create an environment which is going to be conducive to doing all these things. So I started practicing a zero waste kitchen. Of course, 100% zero waste kitchen is not something that is achievable. Like, there will be some parts which are not edible and you will have to throw them away. But even if you're making sure that 90% you're able to use up things. So for example, if you have onion skins, you can easily use the skins and you can make your own seasoning, like which you find in a market. You don't have to spend anything. It's just an extra 2-minute job of putting it in the oven and creating your own onion seasoning. And I think I shared that recipe maybe like 2.5 years ago. And there are many, many such small practices how you can reduce your food waste. So that's one thing. Secondly, talking and creating a menu with indigenous grains. So every restaurant that I create, I make sure that I have millets on it, and it's a journey that started again very young, and it's something that I learned on my own, and on the go, and I will talk about it a little bit later, with you in detail about millets. But like I said, to achieve a sustainable kitchen, there are many, many different aspects, right from hiring women, right from paying fair wages, right from getting correct ingredients, right from reducing waste and energy unnecessary. That you'll always find gas burners burning, so you're wasting a lot of energy. So putting all these little facets together and making sure that you have a place which has some great positive energy, some good people, your crockery and cutlery is made out of the right materials, and most importantly, like, you're not using any plastic, and especially not single use plastic. So I think those are some of the aspects that I have worked on, and those are some things that I can share with you, and I'm sure you can implement it in your home and in your professional kitchens.
If you could tell us how you started your journey with millets, and how would you describe connection of eating millets and the nutrition?
Okay, so millets is extremely close to my heart, and to be very honest, I didn't even know much about millets maybe 8 years ago. And I remember being in my own kitchen, looking at the different types of grains that we had, even though we only used Indian local ingredients. I still felt that, there has to be more than rice or wheat. Of course, we knew about bajra and jowar, which is sorghum and pearl millet. But it was not conventionally used in any restaurants. People were not talking about it. It was forgotten. And I remember speaking to a person who I always credit in every conversation. She's a lady called Pallavi. I met her, and she runs this small company called Millets for Health. And when I met her, I said that, I honestly don't have enough knowledge about millets, and I would love for you to come to my kitchen and just teach me how do you cook millets, and how, just teach me the basics of cooking it, because after that, as a chef, it's up to me how I kind of, use it in different preparations. So she did. She came to the kitchen. She spent an entire day with me. She told me whatever she knew about millets. I went back to my grandmother and my mother, and I asked a lot of people. I said, "Do you eat millets? Do you like eating millets?" And their response was straight up that, we don't like millets. Like, it's bird food, or it's something that has long been forgotten. It's an ancient grain. Who's going to eat millets? And I got all these weird mixed responses, and I was very concerned, honestly, because when I read about millets and when I read about the history of millets in India, it's an ancient grain. It's extremely good for you, for the planet, and the farmer. And it's something that Indians had completely lost connection with. It's their own grain, and they had lost connection with it. So I remember, maybe about 5-6 years ago, I was one of the first chefs to do an entire millet menu, like from start to finish, like from starters, main course to dessert. And I'd done about a 5 or 6 course menu. And it all had different types of millets. So, I'd used a foxtail millet in a salad. I made a berry pulao, or a biryani, similar to a biryani, with these beautiful proso millets, which are slightly bigger. And, the world of millets just opened up to me, and I took it very, very strongly in my hands. And I said, I am going to make sure I scream millets from the top of every building, at any conference, at any social media event, at any family gathering. I legit took it on to myself, and I said, I am going to be a person who's going to promote millets through and through, because I really believed in it, and I knew it was good for for us, because it's very, very healthy. It has lots of micronutrients. Especially ragi is extremely healthy for pregnant and lactating women, because it has 3 times the amount of calcium that milk has, and it's gluten free. And honestly, the world needed to know about it. So every time I spoke about it, there was more and more recognition towards it. And looking at the situation worldwide with the climate crisis, I did realize that, we do need a grain which can withstand, the problems that we're going to be facing. And it's better to get people accustomed to eating it from now. And how do we do it? That's where I come in, as a chef. And I've been working with the Chef's Manifesto for almost the last 6 years. And I've just been focusing and championing on 2 things. One is getting people to eat more millets, and the second is the promotion of my own regional food, because I'm Parsi. I promote a lot of Parsi food all over the world, because I want more people to know about my culture as well. So with millets, it's literally been like a great journey where I have discovered so much on my travels. I've discovered so many different types of grains, different types of small businesses who are doing different millet products. I do a lot of millet R&D. And there are times that I've tricked my entire family into eating millets, and they did not know that they were eating millets. And honestly, for me, that is a bigger medal or an award than anything else, because then I'm like, chalo, I have made them have this, and they had no complaints. Because most people who eat millets and who've come to me, they've always said that the grain is too earthy, or it's not got the same kind of flavor or taste like rice. So I think that's where chefs come in. We know how to handle ingredients. And that's why my series on Instagram, which is called Millet Monday, where every Monday I share a millet recipe, is to get people to at least try and attempt making millets, but not the conventional way. Because if you look at traditional recipes, they make laddus, they make porridges, they make khichdis, and today's youth does not want to eat that. They want to eat a millet risotto. They want to eat millet sushi. They want to eat millet cookies, but they want to make sure that it's got a nice chocolate flavor to it or whatever it is. So I think that's where chefs have to play their part and, come up with innovative recipes, because at the end of the day, a chef is the person who's going to connect the farmer to the consumer. So if we have to get more millet into production, we need to get more people to eat it. And if we get more people to eat it, then we've actually done our job. So that's something that I am working on day and night, and I'm hoping that after this conversation, each one of us goes and has a millet dish.
My next question is rather from everybody who's going to listen to you, whether they are here listening to you or they are going to watch your video later, is we're so heavily dependent on rice and wheat as our staple grains. So as a chef, how do you really tell us to make millets as a part of our lifestyle, our habit, our everyday kitchen work?
Okay, so I'm going to address this in two parts. The first, I'm going to address it to people who are in India, and then people who are outside India. So people who are in India, honestly, you don't even need a push to do this, because our grandmothers and our ancestors used to eat this grain. So it's about time that you bring it back into your kitchen. And the variations of millet recipes from state to state is absolutely like tremendous. Like you will find different versions of millet rotis all over the country, like right from in Maharashtra, where they do a thali peat, which they do for breakfast, or Gujarat or Rajasthan, where they eat bajra with curry. You will find such diversity, and honestly, it's time to bring that back. So, be proud of your grain, and it is the International Year of the Millet, and the FAO has declared it. So, I think it's our responsibility as each and every Indian to definitely bring it back into the kitchen. Even if it's not all the grains, just bring back one grain into your kitchen, and I think it'll make its way to your heart. And it's as simple as that. For the people who are abroad, I just feel like there's a lot of focus currently on Indian food, and Indian culture overall, and what's happening in India. So I know that there is this certain curiosity about different grains, different states, different flavors, and we are blessed, honestly, in India with the amount of diversity that we have, the biodiversity, the cultural diversity, obviously the diversity in food. You go from not even 1 kilometer, you go from one house to the other, and the roti is different, or the rice might be different, or the variety might be different. And I'm sure you're looking at all that's happening in India, and it's very, very easy and very simple to cook with the grain. A lot of people they have this, at least abroad, not Indians, but they have this inhibition that cooking millets is very difficult, it's very hard, it's going to take a long time, and no one today has a lot of time. But let me tell you that you can soak the grain, you can boil the grain. It's literally ready in 15 minutes, just like you would with any rice or wheat, and it's very good to incorporate into your breakfast. I think it's a great grain to add there, and or one meal, especially because it's gluten free. And if you want to have a gluten free meal, just replace quinoa with millets or replace couscous with millets. It's extremely easy to do that. Lots of recipes are already out there, and I hope you guys try it and let me know. If you're stuck anywhere, please do reach out to me on Instagram on my handle, Anahita Dhondy.
And I insist and urge on everybody that please go to her Millet Mondays recipes, and you will be surprised that, oh my God, that it was that easy. Once again, Chef Anahita, thank you so much for taking out time and being with us in this celebration and gracing the occasion so well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I hope to be in Portugal very soon.